Girl Scout tree accident. This happened when I was, I think, 8 years old. I am now 14. My older sister was just dropped off at a multiple night Girl Scout camp, and I was walking up to the park. I had just had an argument with my family and usually walk to the park to cool off. It was not necessarily night, but it was dark enough that the street lights were on. I arrived at the park and started cooling off. I don't know how long I was there. I was climbing off the equipment when I heard a terrible screaming. At the time, I thought it was a fox. Maybe 2 days later, we were picked up by a neighbor and we hung out at her house. Our guardian didn't come home for hours. We were starting to worry. She finally came home and said that our sister had died in a tree accident. 4 people, including my sister, was crushed under the tree that had fallen, but only my sister died. Search up the Girl Scout tree accident, Isabel Meyer. That was the accident. Banshee in the field. So, this happened when my brother and I were maybe around 11 and 12. We lived in a rural town, a town with a nice mix of busy streets and, at the time, sprawling farms. My family home was the second last house in the last neighborhood before you hit farmland, as far as the eye could see. To the right of my house was my neighbor. Then a thick hedgerow, which separated the housing estate from the farm. The first 5 or 6 fields in this part of the farm grew barley and wheat. As kids, we made tunnels through the hedgerow and spent hours every day during the summer exploring the farm with friends. Each field was huge and was separated from the neighboring field by other large hedgerows, some complete with streams running through them. One night, my little brother, our 2 best friends, and myself were outside our house playing football and skateboarding. It was about 9:30 at night and quite dark. Remember, we are the second last house on the road in the very last housing estate before it was just barley as far as the eye could see. We were essentially the very edge of town. Anyway, on this night, we were hanging out as usual when suddenly we heard an ear-piercing squeal, screeching coming from the barley field beside us. It was so loud and high-pitched that it took our attention in an instant. It had a feeling of panic about it. Yet it was kind of funny to our young minds. We decided to go investigate, thinking it was a pig or an injured animal of some description. So, in our youthful excitement, we burrow through the hedgerow and start running towards the origin of the sound, all laughing in excitement. The barley was ready to be plucked from the earth, so it was high, up past our waists, so we couldn't see anything that may be on the ground injured. As we get close to where the sound is coming from, it suddenly stops. We stop and look at each other, laughing. Then it starts again. But now it's originating from the point of the field which we first entered. We exchange glances in confusion before sprinting towards the sound, believing it must be a scared, injured animal. Then the sound stops before immediately starting again, directly behind us. This time, it sounded ominous, and the feeling changed. The sound then stopped again, starting instantly, but way, way off in the distance. It moved forward towards us at speeds way too fast for an animal. Just as it reached us, It stopped and again came from the totally different end of field, hurtling towards us in pitch black. Now we are frightened. This is not an injured animal. We have no idea what it is. The sound then seems to stop and start from everywhere, moving with incredible speed all around us, covering huge distances in seconds. Without saying a word, we all ran as fast as possible back to the hedgerow, which we entered. All the while, this loud screeching wailing moves all around us. My younger brother begins crying in fear as we all rush to get back into our neighborhood under streetlights near our home. As soon as we crossed the threshold, the high-pitched screaming chasing behind us stopped at the border. We were all physically shaken and scared now. My little brother was hysterical for weeks, refusing to go back into the field even during a sunny day. A few years later, my brother would tragically die suddenly in that house. Many strange sightings of a withered woman were reported around those fields over the years. If anyone is familiar with the legend of the Banshee, let me know what you think. This occurred in Ireland, as you've probably guessed. My grandfather encountered a banshee. My granddad was in his 20s when this happened, so about 50 years ago. We live in Ireland, so there are a lot of witch stories and stuff like that. People are also very superstitious and very strict Catholics. Anyway, my granddad was a truck driver, and he delivered beef to people who ordered some meat and butchers who needed resupplied. He told me that he was driving along one morning and it was very foggy and quite airy. He said he thought he saw something on the side of the road. On country roads here, we don't have sidewalks. He said it was the shape of a woman, but he drove on anyway. Then he saw her at the end of the road as he came to a stop about 20 meters. That is 60 feet. 62 feet. There she was, a ghostly figure with long black hair and had pale white skin and no shoes. Her face was horribly ugly with an elongated jaw and no eyes. She then let out an eerie piercing wail. My granddad told me that he had never heard anything like it. It was so loud, his hearing was muffled for 20 minutes after it. Anyway, he was so scared he ran up the road and to the nearest town, which was about 8 kilometers away. He had left his truck back there, but he said he was not going back there to get it. The ironic thing is that he lived at the opposite end of that airy road today.